crazy week, but fantastic week for sure.
What's been the highlight or a great big win you want to share?
We hit 150,000 followers today on Instagram. That's a win.
That's a big one, bro. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Moving out of this place, this office, home office, in a couple of days, and I'll be out there in Louisville for a couple of days as well. LA,
We're
Louisville.
excited to have you in Louisville. Louisville needs some Leo energy.
Right. I'm excited for that. It's gonna be a good time. I'm excited for the Truca event for sure.
Heck yeah. Gonna be an awesome time. It has been a slammed week, but super exciting. And I'm excited about what we're going to be showing everybody kind of behind the scenes in our business today. So that's going to be a lot of fun. What's on your mind? What's on your mind, Leo? What's some inspiration you want to share with everybody, or shall we jump straight over to Derek?
Yeah, I think there's a complex that we have to overcomplicate things. You know,
Mm.
as humans, as entrepreneurs, we overcomplicate things, but things are always a lot simpler than they seem sometimes. And of course, you could say vice versa. You could say things are more complex than they are simple sometimes as well. However, we pick and choose, and we get to take a look at some parts of life that we can really simplify, like our health and our fitness. We can really simplify it to a one pager. Don't eat this, don't eat crap, don't eat junk. Instead, eat the good stuff that come from the earth, right? A one pager, we can do that. Same thing with the real estate business. You can simplify it real good to choose your market, get leads, get really good at making some offers, and then keep that process going. Right? But we tend to overcomplicate things like, oh, what if they say, what if they say this and this happens and this exact scenario happens? I need to perfect that first before I start making calls, Andrew. I can't make calls until I find out what happens if X, Y, and Z happens, if this happens. We can't do that, right? But that's what our minds tend to do. So, message for today is really find ways to simplify things and make things a bit easier. It's it takes some time, but that's what we're here to help you do is simplify.
That's a good overview. We learn a frame of asking great questions and letting, whether it be team, whether it be relationships, friends, family, loved ones, whether it be buyers, sellers, once we learn a frame of asking great questions, everything can begin to change for us because then we begin to understand what the people in our life want. I think it's a really interesting frame in a way, Leo, what you was just talking about, to simplify things, right? Because it's like, what's the desired outcome? And so most of the time, when someone, let's say a seller, they're getting into the weeds, they're telling you all of this stuff that don't even matter about the property. They're complicating it. It's because they're not sure yet what they want. So we got to ask a series of questions to guide them to understand what they want and need so we can see if we can help them get there. So that's why you often hear me do what I call the either or close or the twofold close. Well, what's more important to you? Getting this close fast for cash or netting the most you possibly can, even if it takes a little longer? So once we can really start to work in that frame, everything can change and gets really simple because there's usually a simple fix. So that's really good. As I am uh, interviewing a little bit, I guess you would say, discussing with Derek, rolling back the curtain so you see a little bit of what Leo's and my business look like and what we do. I want those of you who are experienced, you've already done a lot of deals, you're starting to build your team. I want you to view what Derek and I are discussing from the perspective of how you can utilize this in growing your team or being part of the team, right? You maybe work on a team. So look at it from that perspective, from the team perspective. And then some of you trying to get your first deal, trying to get the next deal, or figure out what you're doing wrong on the phones. I want you to hear it from the perspective of Derek, who closed deals back in the day, a couple of years back when we worked together for what, a year or two, and then was on a hiatus, full time military man, and just came back in recent weeks, and we're working together again. Big takeaway there is when you hear me say about building team, about building relationships, about building the network that we build, you can begin to see as you meet more and more of our team that this is not seminar rah rah. This is actually our life. And so, as you see that, just understand that culture and how it relates to you. Anything you want to add to that, Leo, before we jump in?
Yeah, we can dive into a lot more in culture over the next couple or last couple of days that we have here. Because, Andrew, you and I, the greatest thing that has built our companies, the culture that we bring every single day. And you guys get a taste of it on these 60 days, right? We just bring a little tad piece of it every day on these 60 days. But this, imagine what it's like when we do our team meetings or when we get together, when we do an event. We always bring that culture, and what happens is that it creates a magnet, right? You create a magnet. Everyone type in the chat, magnet. You create a magnet around you that attracts the people who are like to your culture. Like attracts like. Write that down. Like attracts like. When you create a magnet that attracts that person that is similar to you, now you can find someone who's on the phones that is crushing it in the way that you do. Right now, you can find someone who cares just as much of the business as you do. You find someone who cares just as much as of their life as you do, and then you start to attract these great people. But it starts with yourself. It starts with making yourself the best you can be, and then understanding that like attracts like, because then you're going to start getting these people into your life, getting these people that you want. And that's what culture is.
It's a big one. So, Derek, how are you, brother?
Good. I was telling Leo, any day above ground is a good one.
Amen to that. I love that perspective. So, give us a quick overview. We worked together for a period of time. What was it, a year or two
Yeah, before.
before? And then, how long had we not been working together? You full time military. You moved to Texas. What was that? A
Uh,
year and a half, 2 years ago?
yeah, about that, about a year and a half. Yeah.
And I remember while I was saddened that the move happened and that we wasn't able to continue working together. It was a great relationship that even continued well past and throughout that period of time, which is an important takeaway. So, first off, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what it's been like jumping back in the mix and starting to buy houses again.
Oh, yeah, I was on our call the other night, I was explaining the same thing. Essentially jumping back in, not too much has changed from the way that you do it, but um it's almost like not riding a bike and then not riding a bike for a few years and then jumping on one again. A little
Mm.
slow at first, but then with a little bit of help and guidance, it's been great picking up, getting houses on the contract. So it's been great.
How many you contracted so far this month?
This is July, right? Three.
Yep, three.
Yes.
Way to go, making a splash on the comeback. I know we
Oh yeah.
revealed a little bit of a secret there. We got Ahmed and Derek. We got to see who's going to Vegas, or maybe both.
Yeah.
This is fun. So, what would you say for anybody who's newer to this game, Derek? What is the first thing that you say to someone of how you kind of hop back on the bicycle and close three deals in a month? What's the secret there? What's the takeaway?
I would say my biggest takeaway for someone would be to essentially just make the calls. Procrastination doesn't help you. Um, uh, Essentially knowing that we all live in a world of continuous improvement, and I think that if you take that to heart with whatever you do, not just the real estate, but I think it would help a lot of people be successful.
What's a little bit of a struggle that maybe you had on the calls that you realized you was, whether it was screwing up and losing your deals, or what's a thing that you was doing that you had to realize and correct in order to go from kind of struggling to get the deals to starting to consistently get deals?
Thinking negatively, I was thinking that, man, there's no one that's going to sell their house for what they owe, or there's no one that's going to sell their house for a little bit of cash down, or there's no one that's going to let me take over their payments. But I know you've mentioned to me several times in the years that we worked prior to and on these calls that sometimes you just got to ask that one extra question. So I think once I got out of the mind frame of ask what actually defeating myself before I asked the question, um, then everything started opening up for me because you really don't have anything to lose, right?
Yeah. I
So,
think it's so interesting you say that, Derek, because, and for any of you on here, write this down. Ask it like you expect a yes.
hmm
When someone tells me they're not going to sell me their house on payments, nothing down, I am genuinely shocked. I expect a yes 100% fully. And if they tell me no, that must mean I suck at my job and I didn't do a great job of explaining it to them. That's my first initial reaction. Now I ask a series of questions, and occasionally I find out that that wasn't the best option for them. And so I get it, right? They needed a fast cash offer, they needed to list it, or I'm not the best option for everyone. And I'm okay with that. Except when I'm asking the question, I am genuinely 100% expecting them to sell to me because I am fully aware, and you should be too, that you are the answer to the right people's prayers. And when you ask them the questions, I mean, it's the truth, guys. If they sell the house to you over time, they're probably going to net more by selling to you than any other way. They're not going to pay 6% commissions. You're going to pay the closing costs. So you're doing them a disservice to not present that well to them. Now, for the people who do need cash now, either A, it goes into our wholesale box, or B, we're not a fit for some of those people. Except when you realize the tremendous service and favor we are doing to people, whenever you know they might be sitting on this house for months or even losing it to foreclosure if we hadn't come along. And then you go, oh my gosh, I am doing them a huge favor, a huge service. That's the mindset I want all of you guys to go and asking questions like, what? Well, let me ask you this, Derek. We worked together. You moved. You're about to retire. Thank you
yes,
for your many years of service. How many years you been in the military?
total 24.
24 years. Way to go. Yeah, you can give him a virtual hand. Type a big thank you in the chat to Mr. Derek.
Salute. Thank you.
So, absolutely. So, the thing that made you pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, do you have a spot on the team for me to come back? Why is that? What attracted you back to our team?
Um, when you start thinking about your retirement and you start thinking about what you want to do, as I just mentioned, did over 2 decades in the Army, and I I'm a planner and I like to plan things out. And I was like, man, what can I do where I'm not under a vehicle or dealing with logistics and stuff all the time? And I was like, I want to give Andrew a call and see if he has a spot on the team. And when I started thinking about it, I know it wasn't, I figured you were going to say yes, but it wasn't just a yes. Your questions were, hey, like, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And when I explained those to you and the reason for me wanting to accomplish the goals, you were like, yeah, I think this would be a good fit for you. And we're doing some things in the future that I think we can move forward. And I think you'll be a big part of the team. So, I guess in a nutshell, to answer your question, it was just essentially me thinking about a career outside of the military and the familiarity of just being, knowing you, knowing Michelle, Ahmed, Leo. So those two things played a big factor in me giving you a call.
And I want to point out, something that inspired me to say, hey, let's do it was the fact, Derek, number one of the class that you always show, and I want all of you guys who are building teams or are thinking of being a team to pay very close attention to this and take some notes. Derek has always operated with great class and convenient communication. Easy to talk to, easy to talk with, easy to be coachable on the team, never resistant to suggestions or coaching for improvement. I share this because there's all sorts of personalities out there. And if somebody comes on the team who is not willing to improve or knows that we're all learning together, then they're probably not a fit to help your team grow. Very, very important. So Derek has always operated with that type of integrity in class. Something else, though, is Derek has a servant's heart. And without getting too deep into it, well, if you don't mind, Derek, share a little bit with them about your passion to teach others and your podcast thoughts and however detailed you want to be there.
Oh yeah. So I know Andrew asked me one day initially when we started, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks after we started working. Uh he does this often where he checks on me and he was like, "Man, let me ask you, what's your passion?" And I was like, "Man, to be honest with you, I like leadership." Not, and I'm careful when I say that because I think the world in general is so critical of people who call themselves leaders. But for me, leadership is not that. It's just about learning about leadership. My degree is in leadership. I have, obtained what some would think is a high rank in the military, and I've led a lot of soldiers. But I do love talking to people about leadership. And sitting down speaking to my wife, we were having a conversation, and she was like, "Hey, you should just have a podcast where you talk to people about it." And I was like, "Yeah, that's like my ultimate goal." And I think at the minimum, I would like to speak to people every day, people who don't realize that what they do is in fact leadership, uh, to like the highest level of like a president or I don't know, something like that. So that's my passion. I love to talk about leadership. I love leadership books. I listen to a few leadership podcasts, and I have conversations all the time with people about leadership. So that is my passion, leadership.
And when people meet you in person, just so they're not surprised, how tall are you?
I am 6'5". Yeah, yeah,
You guys don't see the picture of Derek and I, but I look extremely short next to Derek.
yeah. I'm a pretty tall guy.
Absolutely. Zoom is deceitful. So
Yes.
I want to point this out, Gary. You hop on the phone, you're doing the calls, you're closing deals, you're considering or continuing to level up in your life and your business. What's the next 3 to 5 years look like for you? What's your dream life?
Ooh. Um. I mentioned this to Ahmed before, but I would love to have some properties of my own, have a relevantly high amount of residual income coming into the house, where I don't necessarily have to leave the house to get it. And I want to make sure that I ensure or get a solid hold on the future for my kids, outside of like the military and essentially what I do. So that's it. Just looking out for the future, making money.
I love that. And for all of you, I ask you when you're wanting to attract team, when you're wanting to attract private money, when you're wanting to attract whoever it is into your life, I always ask myself, why would somebody want to loan to me? Why would somebody want to work with me? And the truth is, when all the warm fuzzies are over, the reason somebody wants to work with you in your business is because it's going to help them achieve their dream. And I mention that because it's so easy to get caught up. We're entrepreneurs, we're leaders, and I want what I want, right? I want a big, beautiful portfolio cash flowing. I want to build this community. And we have to stop and listen to find out what our team's dream is too. And that timing of understanding what your potential team member or your potential private lender or your potential partner needs is going to be the most important conversation. I'm not the most patient person in the world. It's no secret. And you will find that while it's tempting to get on a team call and to just get down to the nitty gritty of numbers and actions, and that there's places for that, it is equally, and I might say more important, to ensure there's a time where you connect and check in and find out how your team's doing. Well, what's the important for you and your family, Derek, of being in an environment, being virtual, of course, but in an environment where the team kind of has each other's back and you enjoy that environment?
Oh man, I to essentially be virtual is great, obviously, because you get to spend more time with your family. But just being in an environment where, like you said, everybody has their back. Um, when you surround yourself with people who do great things, you'll do great things yourself. Someone had a study one time where they said if you put one person with five other people, and those five other people are like low achievers, then that one person will become a low achiever as well. However, if you flip the dynamics, the same thing is true, right? And I think that there's a, I think there's a, a great pride in having like a really good team, people that can talk to each other. Like you said, someone who's not a know-it-all, and just like anything in life, being coachable, wanting to learn more.
Absolutely. We should
Hmm.
all be forever students. I
Yes.
love that. So what's something you've learned, Derek, in being in the military that has helped you know better because you've trained in the military, you've done all these things for all these now decades now.
Hmm.
Uh, what's some things you've learned there that you've pulled over and plugged in that's helping serve you in buying houses?
Oh man, that is a great question. When I was in Kentucky, I served under a guy named Colonel Powell. And when he took over, he told us that he just wanted to make everybody better. And I had a conversation with him, and he said that he read a book called Servant Leadership and how he can make people better, because you're not really a leader until you start doing things for the people that are around you. And we had a conversation about what I can do and the biggest thing that I can take outside of the military to my civilian life. And he said, whatever you do, whether or not it's a job, or if you're talking to someone one on one, or if you're having a conversation with your family or your kids or whoever, always make sure that you are adding value to someone's life, right? And I take that to heart, especially when speaking to sellers, right? I don't just want to say, hey, I want to buy your house, right? I do build a rapport with them. I find out what their needs are, and I try to see how I can best serve their need by adding value to their life. So that is probably the biggest thing that I've taken from the military and put into my civilian work.
That's a big one. I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to a life principle. And that's something I've said it before. Some of you are newer here. Write it down. The question, just write it down. What do you want?
Hmm.
That question is great. Anytime I get jammed up in a seller discussion, I come back to that question. Maybe you reframe it or rephrase it, right? But it always comes back to that because what you're asking them is, how can I add value to you? What do you want? Because the seller cannot explain to you that they need you to buy their house, nothing down with payments over time to make sure that they don't lose money on the sale because they don't know all of that exists yet. It's our job to be the leaders that we're supposed to be and ask the series of questions that leads them to give us the information that allows us to help them. So before we jump in to talking a little bit more about team culture and taking questions, Derek, what's anything else on your mind heavy at the moment that you want to share with the beautiful 65 people hanging out with us on this Saturday?
Oh, uh, so as you know, and Ahmed knows, I share with you guys all the time. I'm a big book reader. And a book that I just finished, the audiobook, is called Eat the Frog, right? And someone hears that title and I was like, I'm not going to eat a frog. That's disgusting. But it's essentially about doing the hard thing first. That's all it is, right? Whether or not you're going to the gym, whether or not you are hesitant to make a phone call, whether or not you put off cleaning the house or calling someone that you have some type of animosity towards, whatever the case is, right? Um, I would tell anyone to eat the frog first. Eat the frog, but do the hard thing first. Yeah, it makes everything else so much easier.
That's a good one. It comes
Yep,
back to the morning routine and our habits. How we do
yep,
anything is how we do everything.
yep.
All right. So write these questions down for yourself when you're building your culture and your team. Number one, am I making it fun? Your team culture needs to be fun. Number two, after you've written down, am I making it fun? Ask yourself, am I helping those around me get to their goals? Am I
Hmm.
helping those around me get to their goals? Because otherwise, why would they want to hang out with you unless they're getting to their goals? Number three, how can I add more value to their life? Right? I had a dinner with some of our mastermind members who invited me to dinner this week, various ones. I'm in town and they caught me in town this week. So several of my local Louisvillians asked me to dinner. So almost every night this week, I've had a dinner with a different mastermind member. And something I'm finding is as we have the privilege to lead this incredible group, Leo and I, and we are always obsessing over how can we add more value to you guys? How can we help you in getting to your next level faster? And in those discussions, I was realizing there's some things I've implemented in my business that I had not communicated and talked about. I just over in the nitty gritty, grinding it out, used to needing to figure out how to make stuff happen. I would put these deals together that I realized I've never heard anybody talk about. And then I said, wait, this could add some tremendous value. So I've told a couple of the mastermind community members of how to do this in their businesses. And one of them's already went and implemented it and it's treating them very well. Another one is starting to. And now we're seeing this explosion of deals and money among some of the members, all because I decided, oh crap, it dawned on me. I needed to share what had worked for me. And I share this because each of you have a unique ability and talent. Of course, yes, you come to the community, and Leo and I are leading up this incredible community to help each of you guys step into your power and make more money and have more fun. And each of you have a superpower, whether it be Derek, 24 years of experience in the military, or Veronica, I know you have your experience, I forget how many years in the military, various ones of you, all these different backgrounds. Larry, pastoring for many years, and others of you, you have so many different backgrounds on here, so much value to add. And when you begin to plug that in and go, okay, how do I make this better serve the people around me? Right? I'm not just talking about brain dumping because you've all met that person who you meet and 38 minutes into the conversation, you haven't had a chance to get a word in yet. Don't be that person, right? And at the same time, you want to be willing to share in your expertise. You want to be willing to help others grow. And the Zig Ziglar quote always rings true. Helping other people get what they want, I'll have to worry about what I want. Questions? Who has a question for Derek, for me, for Leo, or for anybody else?
All right. Our first question is from Veronica. She asked,
Veronica,
how do you change the conversation when you figure out the deal is a wholesale deal and they want all cash? Do you tell the seller that you're going to wholesale? If not, how do you let them know you're going to sell it before you close with them?
I do because I don't like dealing with crap. Some of you all may laugh at this, but I'm just too old to deal with crap. If I lose the deal because I tell them what I'm doing, then I didn't need the deal anyway. So if I realize it's a wholesale deal, number one, I immediately gauge it. If I'm getting it for 20, 30 cents on the dollar, to me, I'm going to close that darn thing. I don't care if I got a partner, if I got to write a check, if I got to get a freaking line of credit, a business credit, I am closing that thing, right? Because there's a huge profit there. If it's a okay wholesale deal, and I'm like, nah, I really don't want to buy this, but I'll wholesale it, get some money. So I'm gauging that the moment I realize it's cash. So I go to the cash grab. Awesome, Veronica. So, we do pay cash way below value. What's the absolute least if I pay cash and close you whenever you want? And can everyone else hear me good? Derek has lost audio. All right, cool. So we start the cash conversation, and I say to them, awesome. So now the way it usually works is, and this is, again, if I'm going to buy it cash, then I'm just going to do the cash thing and we're going to do a contract. If I'm going to wholesale it, I'm certain I'm going to. Then I'm going to say, okay, the way I usually do it, Veronica, is that after I contract to buy the house from you, I am going to send through my local evaluator, my local boots on the ground to get the photos of it. And then we'll get it on a lot box. So do you have a key you can leave there, or can you put the lock box on for us? And then what we're going to do during that period when we look through it, Veronica, is I have several people in the area who are interested in properties like this. So while this is not one that I'm going to add to my personal portfolio, I have several of folks around that area who I'm certain will want to. So I'm going to pass it along to one of them, and I'm going to collect, of course, a fee for bringing it to them. Does that all make sense to you? They give me a yes, then I'm in. They say no. If they say whatever, then I'm out. I'm cool. So I have 3 baskets. I have the terms basket, the majority of deals. I have this is a killer deal. I'm going to close it cash no matter what it takes basket. And then I have this is another decent wholesale. I'm going to pick up 10 or 20. And I'm going to have I'm going to wholesale this conversation so I don't have to deal with crap later. Awesome. Next question.
William asked, would it be possible for Derek or Andrew or Leo to share some good leadership podcast sources?
Mr. Derek, what's your favorite leadership podcast?
The Jocko podcast. It's a former Navy SEAL, Jocko Willett. The Jocko podcast is great. I've had 3 or 4 of his books as well.
That's awesome. This isn't a podcast, but I like the John Maxwell book, 16 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Mm-hmm. Do you have any podcasts or books you want to throw in there, Leo, for leadership?
Yeah, PG is John Maxwell, non-PG is Andy Frisella.
Both great. Go ahead, Michelle.
All right, we got one more. This is from Jerry. He says he has a chance to recover a mega piece of property, but he needs some advice on it. So I don't know if you want to hear or.
Do you? Well, yes, we need to know the details. So shoot us a message, Jerry, with the details. I'll look it over and fire you back some my thoughts. So make sure we know the value, any details, notes on the property, if it's a house, land, whatever, all of the normals, debt, what the seller needs and wants, and what your desired exit strategy is. And if we need to, we'll hop on a call. Beautiful. All right, guys, this is an awesome Saturday. This has been a fun session. Derek, thank you so much for hopping on here and sharing some wonderful behind-the-scenes value with these folks. Monday, we're going to be back on the same place at the same time, and Mr. Glenn Paramore is going to be doing a special guest appearance. And Carrie, if he doesn't know that, please make sure he knows now. He's going to be doing a special guest appearance for us, teaching a part of a segment for us. And Glenn Paramore has a Pentecostal preaching background, so he's all right with the spur of the moment. So we'll hop in Monday. We have some exciting stuff to share with you next week. We have some jam-packed guests coming in here. Leo and I have a whole bunch laid out on the agenda, more than probably, frankly, we're going to get in between now and the end of this. So welcome back to day 48, Monday, right, Michelle? Will be day 49.
Yes, I believe so.
Monday is day 49 of 60. We are coming to a conclusion, but we're going to be hanging out with a bunch of you in person. Any parting words, Leo?
Coming to an end, but make it, go out with a bang. Last 10
The
days.
latter shall be greater than the former. Let's go kill it, guys.
That's right. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Bye for now.